Fine. Got it. All right, and we're live. Should be live. Yeah.
Yeah, we're live. Awesome.
Welcome to the BIAGamecast. Thanksgiving special, Thanksgiving episode. So there's a lot to talk about. There's a lot that happened, a lot to
Still
get
says
into.
stream starting soon.
Our
There we are, live.
yeah, we're live, dude.
All right. Well, we do got a lot to talk about. Go ahead, crazy mate.
Yeah. And it's gonna be a lot of fun. Get into our opinions and what our thoughts on what's going on in the industry, what's going on. Uh, so let's get into it. So we could talk about Phil Spencer's interview first, or
Yeah, let's get
the
into the
yeah.
interview with Phil Spencer. Go ahead.
So it was a really good interview. He had a lot of good questions and Phil's answers. I love Phil a lot. He's he's a true gamer. He's such a and people say that he's too nice and that's bad. No, it's not. I don't think it is. And it's funny how he's like self-aware. He's like talking about how the industry coming together and Sony and Xbox uh, coming together to push the industry forward instead of trying to just beat each other down, uh, and how it's not kumbaya and all, but it helps drive innovation when you don't want the others competition. You don't want the competition to fail because then there's no challenge, there's no innovation, and uh, but the main thing that I want to get to that I liked in the interview, well, okay, so he talked about a lot of things. This isn't necessarily in order what he talked about, but he talked about is there's going to be a next generation of gaming consoles if he thinks uh, what Phil Spencer thinks about uh, hardware going away and just being streaming from the cloud, uh, which is really interesting. It's like I feel the same way. I don't think it's going away. I don't think hardware will ever go away, but it's going to coexist with uh, like a hybrid
Streaming.
system. Yes, it coexist with the streaming system, and there's so much things you can do it off of, like that you could do to to make an amazing experience and to when one part's lacking, you can put it onto the other part and have them coexist to elevate each other. I don't know if that sounds confusing, but what I'm trying to say is one thing that has to do with that is uh, just jumping right into a game. And he's talked about Game Pass, how when you're
Actually,
discovering a new game through xCloud, integrating it through the cloud, you don't have to wait for it to download, but you just like it's going to cause more people to try games, and that's what they want. They
yeah,
want
on console, PC, TV game apps, phones, anything really.
they want to bring everybody in. They want to create. They want to grow the gaming space instead of just sticking to the consumers that they already have to buy more things. They want to expand the industry, and I think Xbox has kind of always tried to do that, and they try to innovate and try different things that uh, most people would think is crazy or that's not going to work. Like, for
Right.
say, Game Pass. And he did talk about Game Pass and how everybody's like, oh, it's the Netflix of gaming, it's Spotify of gaming, Netflix isn't even profitable yet, and all this, and they're huge and stuff. But he was talking about how it's different. He doesn't like it being called the Netflix of gaming or the Spotify of gaming because of it's a different approach. You have to
Different
approach it.
medium.
It's a
It's a
different
different
medium.
type of thing.
It's more interactive, and he's like saying that when Phil Spencer says that Game Pass is already profitable, I believe it. because
The way it is.
because the way it is, and that developers do more with the platform, it doesn't hurt them at all. It's basically it's free money, free funding. So Microsoft will come to these guys.
Well, what I think about this is that when you jump into a game from Game Pass, you don't know how the game is going to be, and you're wondering, should I buy this game, right? Well, you have Game Pass and it's in Game Pass. If you really like it and you don't know if you're going to keep Game Pass, or even if you do know you're going to keep it, but if you really like it, you can buy it, and it's at a discounted price too. Or when things come into Game Pass, you're like, awesome, I'm going to play that, and it sits in your backlog, and then they say it's leaving, and you're like, crap, I wanted to play that, but it's at a discount now. You say, hey, I'll buy it. I've done it. So Game Pass, the way it works, isn't like Netflix. They don't allow you to buy games off Netflix. It's not something. They don't allow you to buy microtransactions on Netflix in games. So
Yeah,
if
and
there's a
that's the other
game
thing. It's
on,
like the only thing that they can get extra money off of these different types of mediums, like songs and movies and TV shows, is merchandise, physical
yeah,
merchandise. And Xbox and
exactly,
gaming has that. They have that too.
where they also have microtransactions,
Yes.
add-on DLCs, as well as people who want to own the game itself, and they could get it cheaper through Game Pass.
Yeah, like a developer putting it on Game Pass, it's a free discovery. It's a way, and
They get paid.
they get paid to advertise their game. They get paid to put their game on a platform where it's just going to be up in front of millions of gamers, up in the front of millions of gamers.
Yeah, exactly. And when a
It,
big game like Red Dead Redemption 2,
and
comes
online
in
games
up
that
in Game
blow up
Pass,
because of that normally would take probably a while to get the interaction and player base that they have already. In the short amount of time, you have uh, like you said, multiplayer games that would normally take longer to get that player base, but they just day one they're in the hands of millions of players. Yes, for free, but
yeah,
it's like you can do it in certain mediums where it's like a free trial, it, or a beta where you have the full game. And like you said, if they want to do DLC or microtransactions, and people will experience the game, okay, I love this game, and they find a new game, a new developer that they love, and the gamers will stick by that. People will be like, I love this company, I love this game, I can't wait for them to release a new one. They'll look on what other games they've released and maybe play them. If they're not on Game Pass, they could buy them. There's so many different avenues to getting millions of people to just notice you. And they're getting paid for that.
true.
They're getting paid to be noticed.
It's kind of crazy if you think about it.
It is, and how people is like dissing on Game Pass and think that it's never gonna work and never gonna work. And how Game Pass is profitable, I believe it, because you have already millions of people playing subscriptions, but also they've got deals with other companies that they make with perks, with Xbox Game Pass perks. Other companies will advertise on Game Pass because there's that huge
Like the Disney
base.
Disney
Yes.
Plus.
Yes, and then it'll give people activity. It's sharing. It's a hub for gaming, pretty much, and lots of things, gaming and or just medium and entertainment.
A media like hub,
Yeah,
kind
a
of, in a
media and
way. Like
entertainment hub.
it doesn't have like movies and TV on there besides like the perk system, like with the Spotify. Well, not Spotify. It's got like the Discord, and it had the EA. It had the EA Play as a perk. Now it's actually in Game Pass as part of Ultimate. And then now they have the Disney Plus perk for the month free trial of Disney Plus.
And it's like, yeah, there's all that, and there's just gonna partner up with a lot more companies, because when you have that, not only there's the subscription base, but Phil Spencer was like, we don't really like, and he explains why they don't like touting that stuff and explaining it, because if it's not the most useful form of analytics to present to a
Right.
company to say, I have this many subscribers on the platform. Okay, how many of all of them are active? How much are playing games? So you put the total hours of games played, total hours played through
Right.
Game Pass, and they break that down. He was talking about that's where they're at right now, and it makes a lot of sense because it shows the interaction, and then it's just I just I'm a
There's
loss for words.
Game
Game Pass.
Pass. Yeah. Well, what I think is Game Pass itself is revolutionary. It's so innovative and revolutionary that even though PlayStation, now or whatever, was trying to do this before and streaming games, it was too high of a price, and it was the servers weren't very good, and you had to stream them like that, and people weren't getting like good gameplay, and it was hard to play because of it wasn't fluid, you know. Well, the ability to actually download games on Game Pass and it being a big thing is actually really good, like
Yeah, yeah, and it's like you buy games, they're cheaper. There's so much things they could do it, and like I said, they're just gonna keep growing it and keep innovating it. They want a hub of gaming and entertainment, and it's
yeah.
and with all that they're doing, they're gonna be the first to do it. And Microsoft or Xbox and even Microsoft has always just been so far ahead of the industry because they're not afraid to just try new things and do experiment kind of. They take the upfront cost of innovating and experimenting with these things, and then later down the line, other companies will follow because of they see the proof of what it can do, and
Right.
they don't have
Like
that risk.
EA
But
Access
Microsoft
or
and
EA
Xbox,
Play being in there.
yeah, and it's like they have this hub, and then they'll make deals. I don't know how the deals
Will
go. If
work particularly.
did did Xbox pay EA to
I
put EA
would
Play,
imagine. I would imagine they
or did
did.
EA Play to pay to put, or did they come to a neutral deal? Okay, we just want to put it on there because if EA Play and all these other game sites, they're benefiting from it also because they're getting more activity on there, and it's
True.
just a hub of exploring and finding new games. Like Phil Spencer says, you find new games, you find new stories that you love, uh, find new developers.
New immersive experiences.
Yes, and it's a hub for that, and it makes it so much easier than it's ever been before. That's another reason why I love Game Pass. On top of pay $15 a month and I can play tons of games.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about like the lacking that it has when it comes to streaming compared to like Stadia. Like Stadia is lacking in some areas too, so don't worry about this.
Oh
But
yeah,
Stadia can stream through Chrome on any PC or laptop, right?
yeah, and
And that's
Microsoft's working towards
Google
that too.
Stadia.
They're trying to get it
Well,
onto web browsers, and Phil Spencer did talk about that in the interview as well. But go on, what you were.
well, I was saying like they're gonna get it on web browsers. They're gonna get it on PC as being able to stream xCloud PC, and xCloud is gonna be part of the consoles because the ability to stream a game while it's downloading and be able to jump in right away. They already given you the ability to download games before buying them. They say, hey, now off of the Microsoft Store or like the Xbox Store or whatever, you can download these games even if you haven't even bought the game, which
Yeah,
means that you can be playing it as soon as you like sooner than later. That's what they want. They want people to be able to jump in as soon as possible.
yeah, it's like
Um,
experiment as well. It's like this game looks interesting. I'm gonna try it out. and it's instantaneously you're in the game. You don't have to download anything, and you're in the full game while it's downloading in the background, and it's streaming from your
True.
cloud.
And it's not always going to be perfect. Like people
Well, of
have.
course, there's kinks, there's things that they got to work out to improve it, but they're always trying to do that. They're always trying to make it better. It's just gonna get better.
I think the technology is cool. Believe me, I think the technology is cool. Be able to have an app on your TV, be able to have a stream to your computer, your phone, Xbox, be able to play games before you download them, that type of thing. I think it's really cool. But personally, don't think I'd use it besides the small, like, select things. Like, I don't find myself using xCloud on my phone, despite the fact that we have it, the ability to do that. And I don't think I'd stream to my PC. I love Game Pass. I love the ability to download to PC and to Xbox. And I do think that I might, in the future, use like the xCloud portion if they had it on consoles. Whenever they had it on consoles, where I could be able to play a game before it's downloaded, that makes sense to me. Like, I think that it's cool. I don't find myself using it because I'm a hardware dude.
Yes, exactly. I think there's always going to be that hardcore, that hardware person. There's always going to be, because of, or technology enthusiasts, hardware enthusiasts that just, they want the best of the best tech there is out there.
Mm-hmm.
That it's, and that for, I think, at least for a long time, and I don't know like a lot about technology and all that, but I think not for a long time, that hardware, that like the best of the best hardware that people have with PCs will always be better. Well, not always, but will be better than streaming it. Having that local power, that local experience, rather than streaming it, because of it, especially with internet and bandwidth and all this stuff. And that's why Phil Spencer, he's like, I see it as working together to elevate each other to the best, to be able to expand everyone's experience.
Yeah, I get it. That it makes perfect sense. And if you want to check out that interview, I think, what was it, The Verge that did it?
Yes, it's The Verge.
Yeah. The Verge did an interview recently with Phil Spencer, talked to him about a bunch of stuff, a lot of like how he thinks about launching new Xbox and what the future of gaming he thinks is. And Google and Amazon are both now in the gaming sphere, announced, and in there Luna is being advertised. Luna's a thing. Stadia's been a thing. On YouTube Premium, you could have got a free Stadia. I should have done it earlier, but they actually sold out really quick where they didn't have enough stock, but they were giving away free Chromecast and 1 month of Stadia, and I should have done that to try it out, but it didn't. Anyways, just a lot of stuff about just gaming and Xbox and what's the future of Xbox and what Phil Spencer sees the future of gaming as, and working together with he hopes that not only Xbox will push towards this future, but that PlayStation will, that Nintendo will, that it's going to be better for the players.
Yeah, and it has a lot to do with even like Satya Nadala's statement, or company statement, or vision, or whatever it's called, but he wants to elevate the world and bring everybody up and they're trying to bring gaming and expand gaming, bring it to new people, give people new and immersive and amazing experiences that they've never had before. Bringing and elevating everyone up together. And he also talked about the problem in the gaming industry and the console wars and people buying Xboxes and PlayStations and then filming themselves just smashing them and throwing them or beating with a baseball bat, and this hatred for the other company, wanting them to fail. He's like, that's not good. That's toxic. I hate it so much. It's not going to do any good for the industry to try to beat the other person down, to want somebody
to fail. Constructive criticism. So when he says, he says, why are we attacking each other when we're all gamers? And plus, he says now more than ever, he sees people owning PlayStation, Xbox, and Nintendo. You know that they own more than one console. They're not stuck to just one console. I see this in myself. Years ago, I only cared about Xbox. You know, at first, when I very first got into gaming, it was Nintendo. I didn't have, and then I loved Nintendo, but then I moved to Xbox, and I only cared about Xbox. But I find myself now as an adult, I have the Switch, I have the Xbox One, you know, I have the Xbox Series, I have a PlayStation 4. I'd get a PlayStation 5 when I can later, and when the kinks are all like, it's been having some issues more than the Series consoles, but and I have a PC. I just love gaming. Like, I want to game.
Yeah, and that's the most gamers are like. But yet, there's this little amount that is so toxic and so loud.
Uh
They're the
huh.
loudest
They
because
are.
of other gamers. Just like, I'm busy gaming. I just want to game. It's like me and you. I have a hard time getting on Twitter, or if I don't find myself getting on Twitter. I find myself playing games, and I'll listen to podcasts about games, and but and I love talking to you and other people about games,
Right.
but I don't want to bash on somebody just because if they don't like the same game as me or the same console as me. But it's sadly we're not very loud on Twitter, or to these companies, and or to most of the world, because a lot of the world sees gamers as immature, toxic children. That and there's reason, because there's that toxic base it's small but it's so loud,
Right.
and that needs to change. We need to just and Phil Spencer and they're trying to do that. They're trying to get the true message of gaming, the heart of gaming, to the face of gaming. You know?
Yeah. So we can move away from the interview and we can talk about some other stuff. Like, I know the interview was a big part about the topic of things that have come up lately, and Xbox, you know, with the Xbox consoles launching and the PlayStation 5 launching, there's like a lot of people are wanting to know like what the future of gaming is, and like we've seen a glimpse of it with these consoles and with xCloud releasing, you know, and with the PS5 and the SSDs. I think the SS I what one thing that I'm having trouble with right now is when I get on Twitter, when I get on Facebook, I'm part of these groups, you know, and I follow people on Twitter in the gaming sphere, and they talk about a lot of people I see say, "Hey, let's let's." They're talking about what they think about the Series X compared to the One X, and they're like, "Well, visually, it's not much different." And I'm thinking, well, right now the games aren't there, so visually it wouldn't be that much different. And we're
We're
mostly
we're still
putting
in
on
the
compatible.
transition phase. We're still in the transition phase. You're not
Right.
going to just immediately jump like that. It takes time.
Yeah, the graphics are going to get better, but right now it's not the graphics. When they say I returned my Series X because I didn't find much of a difference from my One X, I sit there and I scoff at them because I'm like, how do you not? My One X takes forever to load games. I didn't have an external SSD. I had an external HDD, you know, a hard drive. I didn't have an external SSD till just barely I got it from my Series S so I can do faster transferring games. So, um, I'm like, how do you not see the difference? There's an SSD. The CPU is so much better, right? I find myself wanting to play my Series S, even on backwards compatible games that can't hold 4K resolutions, right? On the Series S when they can on the One X. But I want to play them on my Series S because it just feels better. For some reason, things just, it just feels like it's more fluid. Like, it has better performance, you know? It's like there's less hiccups, less frame drops, and it's just more fun experience. Plus, with the auto low latency, like that extremely low latency in the controllers, in that specific the series controller, which the low latency is going to work with the one controllers, but not like as well as it will with the series because they have that connection on both ends, and do not instead of just on one end compared to the other with the one consoles, you know. But I see so many things about the newer consoles, and I just have a Series S right now, and I don't know if you think now is a good time for me to go on my impressions about the Series S and what I've
Go
been
ahead, dude. Yeah,
experiencing
yeah.
with it. Um, but anyways, I see these people that say like I just don't think it's worth it right now, and it just is all comes down to what gamers want. But I believe to me it is worth it because I have a super fast SSD, and I even though I have a Series S, right, and I bought a monitor which I haven't. I'm gonna get set up tonight, and I'm gonna play games on the 1440p ultra wide monitor, curved screen with FreeSync and super low latency, which is gonna be a game changer, I think. But I got an external SSD. I got a T7, a Samsung T7, um, which is 3.2, even though the consoles only have USB 3.1, but it'll still work. Just I won't get the full speeds from the T7. But anyways, I'm going to be able to transfer games faster. That's a terabyte on my T7. Transfer games from the Series S to the and hold them and play backwards compatible games on the external SSD compared to the internal because there isn't a ton of storage on the internal. It's 364 after it's all said and done. But I also put down the money to buy the 1 terabyte Seagate external drive. So now I have about 2.5 terabytes. I have 2.5 terabytes before any of it's allocated for the system or the operating system, or just like it's going to end up being more like 2 terabytes in all. But that's going to be a good amount on my Series S, where people might say, well, you spent an extra $200 to buy that Seagate expansion card. Why wouldn't you just buy a Series X when you get a terabyte? Well, I got a setup here with my Series S over Series X where I'm going to take almost full advantage of my Series S with a 1440p monitor with AMD FreeSync. Not a complete full advantage. I don't have Dolby Vision or anything, but I'm going to be able to play at 120 frames per second because it's got 144 hertz refresh rate. And I'm going to be able to experience this without having to buy a TV that is HDMI 2.1 compatible, where sure, I guess I could play games on the Series X on a monitor like this, just like I can on the Series S. Like if I had the Series X, I'd be able to play games on a 1440p monitor. But I paid $200 less to be able to have this 1440p monitor experience, where I'm going to see what it's like to play on this ultra wide monitor with a lower latency, better refresh rates, and I'm just gonna. I believe that I can't tell you about those type of impressions right now because I haven't tried it, but I believe that to me is going to be more immersive. I'm going to be more into the game. Things are going to be flowing better, like more smooth, less frame drops. And when they do optimize games, I'm going to be able to play at 1440p up to 120 frames per second. With FreeSync as well, which is going to be a big thing. I've never had something with FreeSync in it. Like I don't have a monitor with FreeSync. Um I don't have TV with FreeSync, as well as I've never had a device that's compatible with FreeSync. Like my PC isn't, and none of my consoles are. Well, I guess maybe the one is. I'm not 100% sure. But the Series S is compatible with FreeSync, AMD FreeSync, and it's going to be an experience. But let's talk about the impressions I've got so far from what my setup is right now with my Series S. So I've been playing on my 4K TV, which is just a Samsung 6 Series TV. It came out in 2017. It's not like the greatest TV ever, but it's decent and it's good enough for my One X. Like it says 120 frames per second, but my consoles aren't able to read it from 120 frames. So I almost wonder if there's like some smoothing effect that makes it go to 120. Like they smooth out 60 frames and make it look like 120 for like video and stuff, but I'm not seeing that in games. Like I haven't been able to play 120 on the TV in games. I don't even see the option on my One or my Series console, right? So but I've been playing maximum right now at 60 frames per second. I'm on a 4K TV. It's upscaled in any game. I've been playing. I've only played 2 games of my Series S so far, backwards compatible games. I played Re-Reckoning, which doesn't look as good as it does on my One X, but that's because of it uses the One S build, like instead of the One X build, obviously on my Series S, where the game itself plays better. It's more smooth. There's less frame drops. The loading's way quicker. Like I don't think people realize how fast this NVMe solution is that Microsoft has in there. in their console. And yeah, it may not be as fast on paper as the PlayStation 5, although we did see some comparisons where it was seeming like backwards compatible games seem to be neck and neck. Anyways, when I'm talking about playing on this setup, like I'm getting a minimal like it seems like I'd get a minimal difference or even not as good as my One X. Like, but my Series S, I find myself wanting to play that. Like I play PUBG and the frames are more stable, right? And the loading's so quick. Like I'm never load while I'm in the plane, which has happened to me a few times on my One X, and I didn't. I'm sure it wasn't on an external SSD, but like when you load when you're in the plane, and then you have to quickly think about where you're gonna drop, or like in a game, if your game crashes and you can boot back into a game, right? If you get a hard crash on PUBG, you can boot back into the game and you're still in the same multiplayer lobby, right? Well, how slow that is on the One X without an SSD compared to the Series S with an SSD, that is so fast, right? So it's hard to explain. Like the graphics definitely aren't as good as my One X, but it's to be expected. That has a better GPU, like not necessarily better in the sense of newer
Have you
technology.
played on your
Like
monitor yet, though? The new
no, that's
monitor.
what I'm saying.
Yeah,
I
you're putting up.
haven't got it set up.
You put forth the extra money. People like you say. People say, "Oh, you should have just bought a One X." No, you shouldn't have. So you're putting forth this extra money to get everything out of your Series S, to use everything that it has to get it to its full potential. You're getting a monitor for it. You're even the SSD. If you were to buy the X, you wouldn't really get anything drastically better visually without the hardware to go along with it. You'd have to
Well,
upgrade your
that's what I'm
hardware as well, and that
saying.
would be
Is if
even
I
more.
wanted the best of the best, or even just subpar, if I wanted something good, like a TV that is able to output a 4K 120 frames per second, like with the HDMI 2.1, that's gonna cost me at least $1,000, depending on how good of a TV I want, right? That's gonna cost me a decent amount of money for the Series X, where I buy a Series S, which at the time that's all I could buy. At the time, I could only buy a Series S, but I'm waiting to get the Series
Yeah,
X anyways
it's like,
until later.
yeah, I wonder how many of these people are returning their Xboxes back saying, "Oh, I don't see the difference," when they don't have the hardware to go along with it. They don't
Yeah,
have the
exactly.
TV that really can show you that leap in graphical fidelity. And
Yeah,
it costs so much money to actually get it, and they're not willing to. Like, oh, I'll just keep playing on my One X. Or they shouldn't have got an
which
X
is
in the first
fine.
place. They should have got a Series S, and it still would be a leap, a lot less, but it still would be a leap if they're willing to, or if they already have the hardware, the TV that can take advantage of its capabilities, of its full capabilities.
Right. Where the Series S isn't as powerful as the Series X, but it's not catering to 4K. Like 4K, it's more of a 1440p thing where a lot of 1080 TVs aren't really 1440p. You get 1080p TVs, and it's going to be a lot of 1080p people on 1080p displays using a Series S, and it's so cheap, right? But I want to get a full thing out, and it's going to I've spent maybe about 700 to 800 bucks on all this that I bought for my Series S, like a whole setup that I think is gonna be really nice. And I'm gonna be playing like it's gonna be more immersive to me, I believe. Like this gaming experience on my Series S is gonna be more immersive, despite the fact that it's not a Series X and I can't play at 4K. Like my 4K TV is nice, it's great, but it's
It's a
the
lot
only
better for
difference.
you.
Yeah, the only difference I can really even tell, you can tell difference in a side by side comparison. But if you play on your One X and then like 2 days later you play on your Series S, you're not gonna be like, oh my gosh, that game looks miles better on my One X than my Series S. But if you put them side by side, you'll be like, yeah, the One X is 4K textures, obviously. The the Series S is maxed out at 1440p textures, or Like, and it does have a hardware upscaler. So anytime you're playing even in a backwards compatible game on a 4K TV, it's gonna upscale it, which doesn't look as good. It really doesn't. And some people say, "Oh, it looks fine," but and it also depends on your display. Like, you could have a 1080p display versus a 4K display, where the 1080p display looks better because of it's actually better technology and it's an OLED instead of just an LCD or something like that. Like 4K doesn't automatically make it look better. It just makes it the resolution is just better. That's literally it.
Yeah. See, for me, I would take I would take that leap in speed, that SSD, in a heartbeat over
Right.
what the current consoles have, because of the most immersive killer for me is the load times. You just sit there for a minute, 2 minutes, and you're just twiddling your thumbs. Okay, and then you start thinking about something else, or it just completely just takes you out of the game. And I hate that. And to me, the SSD alone would be worth it. And then it's not like a drastic drop. And sometimes it's not everything else is drastically less than the One X. It's just certain things comparing side by side. Yes, you can see the difference, but it's not drastically worse, like you said. So why would you not take that?
It's a better in a lot of
And
ways. Like,
and
you're
it's
never gonna be able to put.
securing for the future as well. You have it. Why would you get rid of it when you're gonna want to get it later down the line in the first place? When the games are actually here, uh, when you can take advantage of its full power and
Right.
capabilities.
Well, I think, to be honest, that the One X is great and everything, but games have a hard time running past 60 frames. Like, in some games have a hard time running past 30. You don't see any 120 frames per second games. That's not a thing like with the One X. Never was. And even though, yeah, it had the 120 hertz refresh rate ability in the One X hardware wise and software wise, it didn't have the games to back it up, right? But with these newer consoles, they're actually able to get the games. With the X and the S, they're actually able to get games up to 120 frames per second and utilize your refresh rate of 120 hertz. So the more immersion, and it's not a massive leap when it comes to fidelity. Like, but if you think about the 360 of the One, it was like you were playing games at 720p on the 360 and you moved up to 900p to 1080p, on the One. It wasn't a massive leap either, really, in my opinion. But and the games will look better. They will, because they'll be better. There's ray tracing involved. There's a bunch of stuff. I'm so excited to play enhanced. I mean, optimized for Series X and S, and I'm gonna try out on my 1440p monitor. I'm gonna try out the Will o' the Wisps. Just that my impressions have been pretty good as Series S so far. And when it comes to the One X, the only thing that I find better on the One X is literally the textures, like the resolution and the textures. But that's to be expected. Like, and the fact that certain backwards compatibility games that aren't optimized are going to be using a 1S build instead of a 1X, and sometimes that was limited to frames per second. Like that, they limited 30 to 60, like 30 frames on the 1S, and the 1X had 60 frames. In certain instances, it's that way. Well, the Series S, they even said on PUBG that they had an update that they got the Series S up to 60 frames per second because it can do 60 frames just fine. It's just they were using the 1S build, and if they don't optimize it and use the technology that's there and the hardware technology and make it accessible for the game, then it's like playing a 360 game that was capped out at 30 frames per second, right? And playing it on your Series X, it's not going to really do much if there's not an optimization for it.
Yeah, and you see, it's gonna it's gonna take time for these developers to get to know the new hardware, to be able to take advantage of everything. They're not going to be able to just jump right into it and just be able to fully take advantage of its capabilities and do everything that it has to offer. It's like a machine at work.
Yeah.
You don't know what you're doing, and your first day, you go and operate it, and you think you're going to know everything about how to work it. No, it takes
No.
time to learn these
Well,
things.
not to mention they were, and even in the interview, Phil Spencer says, yeah, it's no like it's no surprise, and it's not like we're trying to hide it that we're a little late because we waited for certain technologies, that we weren't able to get the dev kits out as soon, that the um that the tool set wasn't completely done for the developers as soon as possible. Like, that's why you see people like, oh my gosh, Valhalla looks better on the PlayStation 5 than the Xbox Series X, or Dirt 5 looks better on the PlayStation
It's
5 than the
not the
Xbox Series
hardware.
X.
It's not the
It's not the
hardware. It's
hard.
the
It's
software,
not.
and it can be tweaked and updated.
But the PlayStation 5 is a good console. We get this, and I'm not bagging the PlayStation 5. I'm not saying it's a sucky console. I'm not saying that it's
Oh,
dumb.
none of
I'm
us
gonna
are.
get
I'm
a
not either.
PlayStation 5. Like, I'm gonna get one eventually in a few years probably. Like, right now it's not for me. Like, I still have a lot of like I haven't played a ton of games that came out on PlayStation 4 because I'm just barely got into PlayStation the last few years. I've always been Nintendo and Xbox before. Um, but with this whole mantra about the Series X and the Series S and that second console going to be holding it back, I just don't see how it's going to hold it back when you can scale graphics so much easier than you could scale CPUs, or, like, or RAM. Like, you're not going to, and I get there's less RAM on the Series S than there is the Series X, but it still uses the same type of RAM and stuff.
Yeah, we just gotta wait, and I know everybody's sick of hearing that, and they're like, oh, of course, some Xbox guys always saying, just wait till next year, just wait, we'll finally get. But we are. It's just and it's taken a while to get to this point to where we're at. But it's so much further. Xbox it's gone further, and even PlayStation in new technologies and stuff, and even PlayStation, you have to wait for your big banger exclusives before jumping into when transitioning into a next gen. It's like PlayStation 3 to PlayStation 4 at the beginning of the generation. What games did they have? What games
Well,
did
there
they
was
have?
Rise, Son of Rome,
Well, that's on the
and
Xbox. Yeah,
Bloodborne or something on the PlayStation 4. Like,
Bloodborne.
the PlayStation 4 didn't have a ton of new games to showcase the hardware. And then you got The Last of Us remastered version the next year, and that showcased the
Yeah, but
hardware a little bit. But
yeah, exactly. My point is, it always has taken time for developers to get used to the new hardware, to be able to fully dig their teeth in and know everything that they're doing, and to learn tricks with it, and to be able to do new things that they've never done before. It takes
yeah.
time. And it takes a long time, and we've gotten to this point, and when switching to a new generation, it's going to take a little more time, but we'll see that, and we're going to see amazing games that are going to blow our minds because of the
Oh, they will.
capabilities of these consoles.
So we could do the Power Your Meme skit now, can we?
I don't have the picture, but yeah, if
But
you got a
let's
meme.
just explain it. You got that
Okay,
meme you were
yeah.
talking about earlier this week, and I got a meme right now.
Well, everybody knows about the talking point of Xbox heats up. Oh my gosh, it's so hot. The air out of it gets so hot, and the fan pushes air out.
Freaking cook a hot dog over it.
You can cook a hot dog. You can make a ping pong ball float.
All
And
right.
so there's this meme that somebody made where it was the Series X as a popcorn maker. Where it had the popcorn as a popcorn popper, and because of apparently
The heat
because of
that comes from
Series
it.
X gets so hot and the fan is so strong, you can just
Pop some
pop your
popcorn
popcorn with it. Yeah,
over the Series X, and you can eat
just
some
sit down, watch a
popcorn while
movie,
gaming.
and pop some popcorn.
Yeah, watch the Apple TV.
Yeah, watch Apple TV.
Anyways, I got one. Okay, so we know the PlayStation 5 is having more issues with hardware related, like when it comes to like defects, right? Than the series consoles. Yeah, the series consoles, they have them here and there, but the PlayStation 5 is they're pretty defective,
I
right?
hear the
So
screen
there's
tearing is worse on Xbox. The new Xbox.
yeah, but that's
versions.
software. That's
That is
software wise.
software. But
I'm
yeah,
talking about the hardware, like the heatsink and stuff, and like the hardware's having issues, and like when you overclock and stuff. Anyways, well, the meme is next gen console war is looking like, and then it shows a store with returns, and there's a door for the Series X and S, and there's a door for the PS5. There's like nobody going in the door for the Series X or the S to return them. There's a lot of people trying to return the PS5s due to the fact that there's so many defective ones and issues. Not because the PS5 is not a good console, but that they
it's
just
just
need
a
to get some
shitty
stuff figured out.
situation, and I think it's funny. It's just we're just making light of the situation. Yeah, it's a shitty
Yeah,
situation.
it
But that's what
is.
jokes are for, be so serious. And for those people that got a PlayStation 5 and that are having those problems, that sucks. You got to
It
go
does
return
suck.
it and get a new one and go through all that hassle. When you just want to play some games, that sucks. And
Well, let's think about this. Why is the PlayStation 5 having more issues than the Series X hardware wise? When you overclock something to 2.2 gigahertz, right?
yes,
Yeah, you're going to have issues. They're going to, I believe this to be true, they're going to change the clocking and they're going to make it not be overclocked as much, which means there's going to be less power in the PlayStation 5. And then they'll put a revision in the next couple of years as a slim version of a PS5 Slim where they will get some kinks figured out. But they're going to have to, as a quick fix, because they're not going to be able to just take this like Xbox did with the 360 and the Red Ring of Death. They spent I think it was like $1 billion that they put down and just had a great return policy. Like even after the warranty was up, it was just like if you ever get the Red Ring of Death, send it to us. We'll send you a new console type of thing, right? Well, if PlayStation 5, unless they do that, they can't just take this hit. They're gonna have to declock it to try to figure something out. They can't. They've overclocked it too much. They're gonna have to change the clocking, and it's gonna make it a less powerful console, especially when it comes to graphics.
it's still going to be a lot better than its predecessor. It's
Oh
still a
yeah.
leap, and
Well,
you should be
even
willing to take that leap over having your hardware just overheat and fail.
right.
Or if they can figure out something else to fix the problem and still have that overclocked. I don't know if they can or if they will, but they need to fix it as soon as possible. They can't, like you said, they can't afford to have a return policy like the 360 did.
Yeah, they can't. But we'll see what happens. I mean, we're having issues software wise on a lot of games. Like we see, it's Cold War is crashing PS5, Series X, and S consoles, and I think, and it's also crashing One X. But it's happening more to next gen, and a lot of people have figured out that ray tracing isn't very optimized on Cold War, so that like anytime they turn on ray tracing is on by default, but if they go turn it off in the settings, right, for the new consoles, they're actually finding that they're getting less crashes and stuff. But it's a lot of kinks to iron out. There is a lot of kinks to iron out on both PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X, and some people swear never buy the first batch, and I don't. I've never had issues buying the first batch. My One X was perfectly fine and still is to this day. Yeah, it gets a little louder than it did at first, but my Series S is great so far. I haven't had any issues. Sure, I've only played 2 games on it so far, but I'm be playing a lot more games on it. Especially now I got my monitor set up and I can actually take advantage of optimized for Series S games. Um, yeah.
Yeah, well, let's let, let's actually do a new thing. Well, because it's
Section
Thanksgiving,
segment.
go on to something new because it's Thanksgiving, and I really like this idea. Boom did it on his podcast, and I want to just say what I'm grateful for in gaming because it's Thanksgiving, and if you celebrate it, happy Thanksgiving. And if you don't, if you have a wonderful Thursday, it's a good day. But we're gonna say what we're the most grateful for in gaming. It has to do with gaming and stuff. So me,
Okay.
and if you're listening to me talk how much I love Game Pass, for me it's Game Pass. I'm so grateful for Game Pass, this opportunity to play all these games, these new games, for just as little as $15 a month. And as I am right now, I got it for Christmas from you last year, a whole year. So I'm up until
January.
February, I think.
February.
Yeah, February. So, and just being able to explore and experience new games that I've never, would have even thought of playing before.
And on your PC too.
And on my PC, I've been playing on my PC. I have a 1S, but being able to go through all these games on my PC. Crusader Kings 3, a new game that just came out.
The Long Dark.
The Long Dark. Well, I own that on Steam, but I like achievements better. I like the Xbox ecosystem for being able to play that on there, and just I'm so grateful for Game Pass and innovations that it's going through the industry, that it's bringing to the industry.
Okay. What am I grateful for in gaming? I'm grateful for SSDs, because playing on an SSD is miles better than playing on a hard drive like an HDD.
I agree.
And that flash memory and that solid state memory compared to the mechanical drives, having SSDs, it's hard to go back. Like, I got an external SSD that I'm going to be using now, and I'll probably play, when I play on my One X, I'll probably be playing off of that external SSD on games that make sense to do that, like Call of Duty, like Infinite Warfare, and like Halo 5. It probably won't make much sense. It doesn't. The load times are perfectly fine.
So you can that new SSD you bought, you can use that on your One X.
Oh, I bought two SSDs. I bought an external SSD. I bought an external SSD, and I bought that It's a proprietary proprietary memory, if I can even speak, and that's the expansion port and that expansion card that I bought for the Series S. No, you can't put that in the One X or the One S or anything. You can't. I'm using I have my Samsung T7 that I can use on my One X, and that is faster than any hard drive too. Like, I have it can technically get up to 1,000 megabytes or 1 gigabyte read and write speeds. You know what I mean? It can technically get up to a gigabyte read and write speeds, although it probably won't on the One X or the Series S, because it's not utilizing USB 3.2 on either of those. The One X is USB 3.0 and the Series S is USB 3.1. So, but it'll be faster. When you think about like the One X hard drive, they usually have anywhere from like 200 to 250 megabytes of read and write speed, and then I'm going to be getting at least 500 megabytes of read and write speed on my on that external SSD. But I also have that proprietary memory and the internal, which is the same as the card. Like, I'm just really happy and grateful that there's that SSDs have become a lot cheaper, for one, and that they're becoming more mainstream, where I don't have to sit through loading screens. You know, that they're cut in half at least. You know.
That's what made me stop playing Odyssey on my S, was the loading screen.
Yeah, you want to. So the loading screens.
Whenever I die, I'd have to just sit there forever and wait to load in. I died a lot in the difficulty I was playing on, and I was already so far. It's like I don't know. Just I like going for those achievements, and I like playing, but the loads, and I'm fine with dying, and I'm fine with playing on a harder difficulty, but with the load times, it's just taking me out of the immersive experience. And
yeah, it's the immersion.
That I'm just gonna move on.
Even on Re-Reckoning, when you get out of a cave and going into the hub world, where it's the loading screen takes longer. It takes you out of your immersion. You see a load screen, you immediately want to pick up your phone. You know?
Yeah.
That's what happens to me all the time. But it's so much faster on the Series S, and these external, like these SSDs I have, and gonna be so much better. But that's enough of the SSD talk. I do have a couple other topics to get to.
Yeah. Go
yeah.
ahead, What do you want to talk about
So
next?
I watched a video going over the Series S as an emulation box and how it's a great emulation box and how you can use it for emulation on like the Sega Saturn, Nintendo 64, those
Really?
type of games, and that it's better than the one for an emulation box, so there's a lot less hiccups and stuff like that. So I'll explain it, okay? So in this with the Series S, with the one consoles, the Xbox One, the Xbox One S, the Xbox One X, um, and the Series consoles, the Xbox Series S and the Series X, they are very hard to hack. People usually will hack for a few reasons, and one of the reasons is emulation, right? That's one of the reasons some people will hack. But the the one console and the Series consoles, those are hard to hack. But also, it's not very like there's almost no reason to hack it when it comes to emulation for one reason. Okay,
Yeah.
so there's this mode on this one Xbox One consoles and the Series consoles, right? Um, called developer mode, right? It's kind of like getting in safe mode or something on your PC or like your phone or something, right? But it's different. It's a mode for developers, so people can develop for the Xbox One and the Series S without actually having a developer kit. If they have an Xbox One or a Series console, yeah, it's not as expansive of tool sets and stuff, but they can still develop for it, like
Are
smaller
they
games and
opening
stuff.
the door for modding?
Maybe,
Huh.
but
Interesting.
but this has been a thing for years. It's called developer mode. So you have your the 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 consumer one, which is just it's the setup that you get when you buy it. But then developer mode, you have to put down $20, one-time fee of $20 to be able to use it. But then you can use it anytime. And you switch to developer mode, you can't do you don't have access to the same things as you do on your like the original set of things. So you can't play the games you bought. You can't go to the store or anything like that. But you can still use the internet and you can download stuff, right? So in developer mode, it costs $20 and you can switch back and forth freely. So you can't like watch Netflix on the developer mode. It's not a thing, right? Um, but you download off the internet an app. It's a UWP. It's a UWP based app, and that stands for Universal Windows Platform. And that was a big thing during the Xbox One generation. It was a thing they started creating and a big thing. But they're moving away from that to something called GameCore. But there's still UWP apps out there, right? And this one is called RetroArch. It's a UWP based emulator that supports the Series S, right, and the One consoles. But we all know the Xbox One consoles, the CPU wasn't that great, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So an issue with emulation is things don't tend to run very smooth a lot of times on emulation because you're trying to emulate the hardware, but there's a lot of different like things that go into it. And even if it's technically better hardware, it's like it just doesn't usually run that great. Like this app RetroArch wouldn't run very good on the Xbox One consoles very well, but on the Series S, it actually runs really smooth. So this YouTuber called Modern Vintage Gamer actually made a video saying how the Series S is a great emulation box and how it was running 90 99 for 95% of all games he tested. It was running like butter. And he tested games clear from the Sega Saturn, the Sega Genesis, the Super Nintendo, the Nintendo 64, um GameCube, PlayStation 1, Dreamcast, all these original Xbox, which you don't need, but I mean, guess you could if they're um but anyways, he's saying 90 to 95% of the time all the games are running like butter, and that he's tried this app on numerous different things like an Nvidia Shield and stuff like that and Android devices, and it just didn't like run super great. But that this is a great emulation box, and that's how you can emulate it by using developer mode. You just search it up in the store and it's an
That's
app, and then
awesome.
you'll download it. And then you switch over to developer mode. It costs a one-time fee of $20, and you can switch back and forth. from original mode and developer mode, and you can use it as an emulation box. The Series X as well, probably, but I would imagine so. So that's pretty cool.
That's actually awesome. But me, I can't stop thinking about mods that open the door for people to
Right.
go and do mods. If it's a great emulator box, that that
See, I think an issue with the mods and the reason you can't do mods is because the developer mode, you can't play the games you bought on developer mode. You have to switch back before you can play them.
yeah, and but you can create things, right? Or is that
Yeah,
so? What's
you can create games, yeah.
yeah? And if you have certain, yeah, it probably make it a little more difficult not being able to play it and go back, but you could still build assets for that game in mods. I think Xbox would have to kind of help open that door a little bit more,
Yeah.
but I hope they do. That's awesome because of being able to have mods on your console. That would be huge because
That would be
that's like
dope, yeah.
so much PC players they love mods so much, and you can't even get that on the console. So they would just like I don't even think about console. I like my mods. I like my customization. All this, and seeing the consoles becoming more and more like PCs, I could see this being big if that's the way they decide to go about it is putting that together. And you said they were calling it they're kind of like rebranding it to what?
No, it's not rebranded, it's just developer mode.
Well, developer mode, but they are naming it. What is the name you said before?
Oh,
GameCore.
changing UWP apps to GameCore. That has to deal with development, though. Yeah, they're changing UWP apps to GameCore apps.
See, I don't know very much, but from what I understand from what I'm hearing, that could be an avenue for mods on your console.
That'd be pretty cool.
That would be freaking awesome.
So we got one more topic to hit before we head out.
Yeah. What's
Um,
you got, bro?
it's I know this doesn't matter as much nowadays as it used to, but let's talk about sales. About how, and this is estimated about how much the Series X/S is sold compared to the PlayStation 5. And it's just estimated, like they haven't given any numbers. But apparently, the Series X and S has sold around 1.5 million units, right?
Yeah.
Where the PlayStation 5 has sold about 2.5 million units. This is worldwide.
Yeah. Well,
So,
there's lots of aspects of that, and that's awesome for PlayStation. But
well,
there's multi, and it's
that's
like
still a good amount for Xbox too.
yes, that is. And that's a lot. It's awesome for both of them, but
It is.
the numbers would be a lot bigger. I think it's like we have the pandemic, and uh, supply lines are slowed down and disrupted, and also like they didn't start manufacturing until later because they were waiting for RDNA 2 technologies.
Exactly.
So they even started later. So it's like you're not going to be able to uh, manufacture that many consoles when you have less time to do so. It's just you can't. Just math. Just math. But
Yeah, but that was the last thing that I had to talk about when it
that
comes to the
it's
gaming
good
news.
for everything. And it's like consoles are in such high demand right now. I
They are right now.
and I want one, but I'm not going to be able to get one for a while financially, and because it's just not available anywhere. You'd be so lucky to
True.
find one. But yeah, next gen's here. It's
Let's get
awesome.
excited, dude. Next gen's here. I love it.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, just keep playing and experiencing what the S has to offer, and What have you been playing, bro?
Well, I was playing Re-Reckoning, and been playing PUBG, and played Unravel 1 and 2 with my wife, but other than that, that's pretty much all I've been playing. I've been playing a good amount of PUBG, and Re-Reckoning's been fun. I've been playing that. As well as, like I said, the Unravel games. And I'm looking to be playing the Will-o'-the-Wisps here soon.
Yeah. Oh, that's such a
Yeah,
good game. I love Ori and the Will of the Wisps,
it's gonna be
especially on my
great.
PC with an SSD, loading
Added
fast
120
and
frames.
yep, 120 frames, and it's that's my game of the year. That's my favorite game that came out this year.
Yeah, I haven't
I
played
mean,
it
I
yet.
haven't played very many games that came out this year, but that takes cake from the ones I have.
The Last of Us Part 2 takes cake for me this year.
Yeah, dude. Heck yeah. Yeah. Nice, bro.
Anyways, what have you been
Yeah.
playing?
Well, as always, I play Civ 6. Never stop playing that. Especially because they came out with a new update, new civilization, Babylon, and I've just been having a blast playing them. They're so much different. They're so unique. They change around everything, and just a lot of other things. Heroes mode, get heroes in the game. Just they're really taking Civ 6 and they're upgrading it and expanding it, and I think they're gonna stick with Civ 6 for a while with what they're doing, and I love the updates that they're putting out every month or every couple months.
Yeah, it's been a great game for you then, eh?
Heck yeah, dude. As always, and then a little bit of the Long Dark. I've been playing that, and then also I've been playing Shadow of War. Getting into that
Nice.
and have a lot of fun with that. I don't know. I want to go back though and play Shadow of Mordor on my S, and I think I might do that. But it's
Yeah,
like,
play it on us.
should I finish Shadow of War first and then go back, or go back and then finish Shadow of War? I don't know. If I can finish Shadow of Mordor real quick, then I might do that, and then jump back
Right.
on. That's what I'm gonna be putting most of my time in, focus into, is Shadow of Mordor and Shadow of War. It's a lot of fun.
You're not
Love
playing
that
much
game.
Long Dark anymore?
I am, but not as much. I'll probably still play that, and then of course there's Civ 6, which I can't seem to stop playing that. So
But you
we'll
always
see.
play.
It's got me.
Yeah,
It's got me in this.
pretty
in the
great,
grip.
eh?
Yeah, dude. So that's it. That's all
Well,
I'm playing, and
nice.
having fun gaming. Keep on having more fun gaming. Got a 4-day weekend. Yeah, relax.
Holiday weekend.
Holiday
And let's
weekend,
get
Thanksgiving
some
weekend.
gaming going on.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, this is the
Yeah.
Brothers in Arms Gamecast, and I'm Infinite AA, and this is Crazy Mate Gaming, and
Go ahead, leave a like, subscribe if you liked what we talked about, what we had to say, and tune in every Wednesday at 7 o'clock Mountain Time for the BIA Gamecast, where two brothers sit and talk about gaming, talk about the hobby they love to do. Yeah, this has been fun. Thanks for hanging out with us, and make sure to subscribe and leave a like. We'll see you next week. Bye.
see ya.